Hi, everyone. This is Scott Nybakken for Dynamite Comics, and I'm here with writer ALEX Segura to talk about his upcoming new series, The Green Hornet, Miss Fury, which brings together two famous pulp heroes for an all-new adventure. Alex, thanks for joining us on the channel.
Thanks for having me, Scott. This will be fun.
So to start out, I think that most people are at least somewhat familiar with The Green Hornet, especially since there was a big budget film about him relatively recently, but they may not know as much about Miss Fury. Could you give us a quick capsule history of her character and how she might contrast with the Green Hornet?
Yeah, what I find most interesting about Miss Fury is that she is probably the oldest female pulp hero in comic book history. And I think when Henry and I were thinking about this project and how to make it stand out, we really wanted to have a philosophical contrast between the Hornet and Miss Fury. So, if the Hornet is very much like Batman in terms of fighting crime wherever he sees it, Miss Fury is a little bit more strategic and much more prone to cutting off crime at its head, as opposed to being bogged down in the, I guess, punching thugs and entry level brawling. But what we learned early on is that there's something that connects these two heroes in a very deep rooted way. And it also pulls them together now fairly early in Green Hornet's career. It's not an origin story for either of them, but it's very much two relatively new crime fighters stepping on each other's toes and figuring out, are we friend or foe, in kind of the classic 60s Marvel style.
Yeah, and as you said, they're like the Green Hornet and Miss Fury are both crime fighters. They seem to have emerged more from the noir and mystery genres than the superhero side of things. Masks and bright green costumes notwithstanding. Is that one of the factors that drew you to this project? And how did the assignment come about?
It came about, our editor, Joe Corallo, reached out and asked if I would be interested. But, I've always been fascinated by the Green Hornet ever since I was a kid, with the TV series and later the comic books. And I was a fan of the stuff that Mark Waid did over at Dynamite. So Green Hornet's always been on my bucket list, and I've always thought that Miss Fury was really intriguing. So the idea of taking these two quote unquote superheroes who, like you said, are really grounded in reality. I think that's also the appeal, that they're much more masked pulp heroes than superheroes. And that's pretty fascinating because you get to explore a more grounded, realistic world. So that was a great springboard for us to get going story-wise.
And speaking of story, now that we know something about the characters, what can you tell us about the story and how it will unfold in the new series? I understand that it's a period piece, but it's not a retelling of their origins, as you said, set way back in the 40s.
Yeah, it's not in the 40s. We decided to set it in the 60s, early 60s, to kind of give it that TV series flair. But the story is about a series of murders occurring in the city that grabs the attention of both Britt Reed and Marla Drake, who are the alter egos of Hornet and Miss Fury, respectively. And so they're both investigating these crimes in their different ways, from different angles, until they realize that it's affected someone in their shared history. This character called the Silver Shrike, which is rolls off the tongue really easily. And that character has played a part in both of their origin stories and both of their early days as crime fighters. And so they have to put aside their differences to figure out what happened to their missing mentor, and if he's alive or dead, and if he is dead, who's responsible for it. And so it's really a long unfurling murder mystery that adds new layers to their respective pasts. And what I thought was interesting was also Henry and I are connecting their pasts together in a cool way, and also just showing the contrast between these two heroes, like two vigilantes who approach things differently.
Yeah, and is the Silver Shrike a new creation for this story, or was this did that character exist in some of the earlier tales?
No, it's a new creation. I think even with work for hire stuff, it's always fun to add to the mythos and have something that maybe down the line somebody else will want to play with 30 years from now, or maybe next year. It's just something you want to leave the toys in better shape than when you got them. So it felt like a fun little connective story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you had mentioned you're working with another author, Henry Barreas, on the series. Can you tell us about how that collaboration came about, and what are the strengths that he's bringing to the project?
Yeah, when Joe reached out, I said my schedule was really tight, but I obviously didn't want to say no. And I collaborate really well with other writers. I've worked with people like Matt Rosenberg, Monica Gallagher, Liz Little, and I'm probably forgetting people here, but I like the give and take that comics provides. You're basically jamming with other people, and the best idea wins. And Henry has a great track record of telling really personal stories, character-driven stories in various genres. He can do fantasy, he can do superhero, he can do straight crime. And I know, and we've known each other a long time, so I knew we would get along and be able to break the story in a fun way. And the second we started talking about it, he was full of great ideas and great plot twists. And it's really been a treat. We've known each other a long time. This is our first time collaborating, so I'm excited about how it's going.
Speaking of collaborations, like there's a great tradition of hard-boiled crime comics in Europe, where they've enjoyed more popularity, I think, than they have even in the United States, at least in recent decades.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that influence at work in the pages that the book's Italian artist Federico Soresa is turning in?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Federico was such a wonderful find. I think I literally saw his stuff on Instagram and reached out to him and was like, "You're amazing. Like, can we please work together?" And as you could probably relate to this as someone who's also been on the other side, in-house, like editorially or marketing wise. The best freelancers are the ones that are fast, nice, and good. And Federico checks all three boxes. He's very kind, very quick with his work, and takes notes really well. But the key part is he's amazing. He's got this very hyper detailed style, but it's not just, doesn't feel static. It feels very dynamic when you look at his layouts and pages. And he's young and he's getting better. Like every issue, we'll see new stuff come in, and we're just blown away by how he's growing in leaps and bounds. And I think he brings a really grounded and gritty aesthetic to the art, which pairs perfectly with the story that we're trying to put together. So it's really been fun. I could work with him forever, really.
That's great. Finally, do you think the fedora and ascot look is making a comeback? I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I was joking with someone at Baltimore this weekend that my new shtick is to just write characters that have colored fedoras, like Dick Tracy in The Question and now Green Hornet. So I'm doing the whole kind of pulp rainbow here.
Excellent. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing this, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to everyone for watching. The Green Hornet Miss Fury #1 will be in stores in November, so be sure to pre-order it now. And follow Dynamite Comics on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X to hear more about all of our upcoming releases.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.